Jake gives the Colts a big-time wide receiver in today's prospect spotlight. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network around. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com. I'm joined, as always, by the boots on the ground for Roundtable Sports, Jake Arthur. You know him. You love him. And today he is bringing us an offensive player for today's prospect spotlight. Not many of those so far. I know I squeaked in an offensive tackle last week, but we are going more flashy today, and that is Malachi Fields, the wide receiver from Notre Dame. Big dude that Jake has talked about quite a bit. I believe in our mock draft Monday last week, Jake, you did give the Colts Malachi Fields. So this is a guy that you've been in on for a while. Transfer from UVA to Notre Dame, performed exceptionally well last year. What are your thoughts on him as a fit for the Colts and just his overall thoughts as a prospect?
Yeah, so on the surface, I don't love the idea of the Colts going receiver early because they just need so much on defense. But the reality of the situation is anything could happen this offseason. And the Colts already kind of have a need at receiver now. And I just think that can grow as the offseason goes. Now, Michael Pittman Jr., we know being a $29 million cap hit, that's not really realistic. So we don't know what's going to happen with him. Alec Pierce is one of the most coveted free agents on the entire market, let alone receivers. So the need could be there for the Colts. So that's the only reason why we're even discussing this as a possibility. But when it comes to Malachi Fields, I think he really fits what Chris Ballard looks for really historically in receivers and like all the way up to like what he's done in the last couple years. So Fields is a guy, 6'4", 220. I absolutely love that frame. His skill set it reminds me of prime Michael Pittman Jr., to be honest with you. He's not like a burner, but he's got enough speed to get downfield like we saw with Pittman in 2021 with Carson Wentz. He's a 50-50 ball, jump ball, dominant type of guy. He's always going to win those matchups. Again, something we've always seen Michael Pittman Jr. do. When he goes up high, he gets it. Kind of that classic big-bodied X receiver that was talked about Pittman being earlier in his career. But with Fields, I think he flies a little bit under the radar because Notre Dame is about Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. You know what I mean? They're a run-first team. So Fields' efficiency has been very good as a receiver, but he's never been a high-volume pass target. And again, he comes from Virginia and then just played at Notre Dame this last year. But with the exception of, I think, his second season in college, he's always averaged yards per catch in the teens. It's odd because touchdowns, he's never been a big touchdown scorer, just like Michael Pittman Jr. either. But generally, this is a guy who, again, I love that 6'4", 220-pound frame. I think it moves a lot better than a lot of the bigger receivers. We talked in our most recent full-length episode about how taller receivers, they often have issues with their hips. So they're very rigid. They don't turn very well. They're not very fluid.
Mike Strawn, for instance.
Mike Strawn, yeah. He's
right.
A one-speed straight line guy.
Right.
I don't think Fields is that type of guy. I think he's got a bit of wiggle to him. His route tree is not broad right now. I would say it was in between Pittman's and Pierce's when they were both coming into the league. He's not a guy who could fall into your lap and probably even catch 60 or 70 balls as a rookie. I think he'd probably take a little bit of time. But when you're looking at second round, third round at receivers, you're not always going to hit on like a bona fide number one. But I think he's the type of guy who could ascend to you could get by with him as your number one receiver, but he's not going to stack up against the rest of the league's number one as like an elite guy. But I think he could be your top weapon in a passing game because big-bodied, sure hands, can be a possession receiver, but has that ability to stretch the field and win contested catches. He can win in all areas of the field. It's never going to be the sexiest thing, but it's efficient and it's effective. And he's someone I think Chris Ballard would be really interested in.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to this a couple times in what you were saying there in terms of like in the NFL, everything comes down to cost, right?
Mhm.
No matter how much you like a player, the cost is going to be the deciding factor. And there's 29 million reasons why we're talking about Michael Pittman Jr. the way we are this offseason.
Yeah.
So do you view Fields as a legit one-to-one replacement for not in terms of production, but in terms of hey, we're gonna get this guy 20 something million dollars cheaper,
Yeah.
which helps us navigate our cap situation? Do you see that as this is just our way of getting a cheaper Michael Pittman Jr. in this draft?
Yes, and I look at it not just for this year, because we've talked about this too. It would probably be easier to, let's say you lose Pittman, it's probably easier to piecemeal that role together. You
Yeah.
give some to Ashton Doolin, you give some to Josh Downs and Tyler Warren,
Well,
and
and give
then
some to Fields too, though, in
yeah,
this
and then
scenario.
in this scenario, you bring in another guy, and because you also have to fill the hole of AD Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like that's something I anticipate they'll want to do this offseason as well. So rather than going out and getting a 1-for-1 replacement, you kind of you just kind of pull your resources together. And a guy like Fields has a very similar skill set. I think he could go in and fill a lot of that initially. Like a lot of rookies catch 30, 40, 50 balls tops if they're heavily used. I could see that in this scenario, but you're going to get the other guys involved, like Ashton Doolin and the other guys that are already there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And coming up, guys, we're going to talk about his overall fit with the Colts and how Chris Ballard's trends at wide receiver have been very fascinating in recent years. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But first, welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5-Hour Energy Shots gives you a boost with 0 sugar. Jake personally has been telling me every single day about peach mango. It's one of his favorite flavor combos, and it brings that right peach flavor on the first sip. So then mango adds that tropical depth and sweetness. The drink has a smooth, rounded fruit profile with a slightly richer mouthfeel than citrus flavors. Strawberry watermelon, which I think would probably be my pick there. I really do like strawberry watermelon, or even blue raspberry. I feel like locks as well. You can never go wrong with them either. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon.
All right, guys. And as this new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines. We all know we're trying to change stuff as the calendar turns. And dinner is a big one. Like it's a simple thing to think about, but honestly, how big of a chunk of your evening is dinner? If you can make it easier to do, then you got to do it. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. And that's where HomeChef comes in. HomeChef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready recipes, or quick lunches. There's over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and there's no wasted food. And for a limited time, HomeChef is offering our listeners 50% off of your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Who doesn't want that? Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off of your first box, free shipping, and again, free dessert for life. But you must be an active subscriber to receive that free dessert.
And workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that just says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, then this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show get $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job on the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com. Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Alrighty, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back talking all about Malachi Fields, Notre Dame wide receiver that Jake cannot get enough of in this draft cycle. And I'm very fascinated by this guy's fit with the Colts, because if we look at the early draft history of Chris Ballard, when it was with Frank Reich, when it was with all those offensive coordinators under Frank Reich, this would scream build a Ballard number one, the next Alec Pierce, the next Michael Pittman Jr., because size was a premium in those early days with everything the Colts were looking for, right? Again, Pittman Jr., Pierce, Strawn, Darius Fountain, like all these guys Deion Kane, these guys were all above 6'2", all above 200 pounds. And then at its best, you were looking at Pittman and Pierce, these guys who were like 6'4", 6'5", 215 plus, huge wide receivers. But we have seen a change a little bit in recent years with Shane Steichen. A.D. Mitchell, still 6'2", 200 pounds, but more of a route runner, more of a separator. Anthony Gould, pure separator under those thresholds. And Josh Downs, one of the smaller players on the roster, great separator, great slot player for the Colts. So I'm not saying that you're wrong by saying that Fields could be a fit for the Colts, because if you lose Pittman, you would think you want another size type of player to come in here and fit there. So I think it is a really interesting dynamic there with the Colts and what type of receiver they would want if they do move Pittman, because they have changed their type recently, but you might want to match Pittman's type to fit kind of your offense.
Yeah, and I do know they still kind of view that receiver room as the basketball team. You have everyone in their specialized role. So I always think you want someone with juice who can, win quickly and get that separation and beat man coverage. Not that Fields can't do that. He's the kind of guy, I think it's going to take some deep film research on their part, again, because he's just never been a high volume targeted guy. But I do agree. I think, I don't know if it's Chris just relying on what his coaches want, or if he's just becoming more diverse in how he evaluates talent. But we've seen that with edge rusher. We've seen that with receiver. Receiver was always kind of a joke where if you didn't look like Mike Strawn, you had no chance. Like, never in a million years will we have thought Anthony Gould or Josh Downs would become Colts. Now they're slot receivers, sure, but still the point remains that he had a type. And this is definitely more of the old guard, the old Ballard type. So Steichen obviously wants the quick winners and everything. But I think they are willing to make exceptions for guys who have feel and like know how to use their bodies to like box guys out and use their frames to win. Because I don't think like a Michael Pittman Jr. would have necessarily been like a high Shane Steichen draft pick. But again, you need these guys you need a possession receiver, number one. You do need to be able to threaten deep, which I think Fields can do. He by no means is he like a slow guy, because he can win deep. And like I watched him burn a guy for like a 50-yard gain in Mobile. He torched him and he had to dive for it. Like, he made a very athletic, explosive play. So he's got that in him. And that's why, we mentioned on our Combine pregame show, I really want to see how he works out. Because he's someone who I think his testing scores could really open some eyes for people to be like, oh, okay, maybe this guy's capable of a little bit more. If his jumps are 38 plus inches, his broad is, God, I don't know, what's it, over 10 feet is what you're looking for,
like
on
10,
the broad?
10, maybe 10-9. Yeah.
And then if he's running under 4.5, I think would be great for a guy that size. Like, that would be outstanding. But I think he could surprise. I see more capability on tape. I see a guy who, again, not a dominating wide receiver one, but like enough to be your top outside receiver on your team.
Yeah, another interesting aspect in this is with guys like Pierce and Tyler Warren, who are good contested catch guys, not really true separators. I wonder if you still want to go for more of a true separator on that other side, but Fields could have that ability as well. So, it's all about mixing types, like you said, building that basketball team. But real quick, before we close it out here, Jake, you've mentioned round 2 a little bit with Malachi Fields. Again, height, weight, speed guys typically go pretty early, like we saw with Pierce during his draft year. Height, weight, speed guy went in the middle of round 2. Do we think that's where he goes, like top 50, or do you think there's a world where he could fall maybe to their 3rd round pick?
Yeah, I think it's possible he's 3rd. I've seen mostly 2nd round. And again, I think the combine's probably a big deal because it's not like you've got a guy who's targeted 80, 90 times a season and you've got all the tape you could ever want to pick his game apart. So I do think athletic testing and like workouts with teams is going to be big for a guy like this. We've seen that before with like Demaryius Thomas is a guy that comes to mind from Georgia Tech, had like no receiving volume whatsoever coming out of Georgia Tech when they ran like the wishbone stuff,
Yeah.
So the workouts and the combine and stuff like that were so important. So yeah, like with Fields, a lot of his evaluation is stuff we are yet to see, and it's going to come up in the next few weeks.
So projects over, getting guys who are ready to go right now. Okay, Jake, I can see the comments below already. But thanks again for tuning in today for this bonus episode of Locked On Colts. We'll be back yet again tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe to our show to get all the latest episodes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on social media. And if you never miss an episode, then remember, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Colts audio ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and much more. Head to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join the club or follow the link in our show notes right now. Thanks again. We'll be back here yet again tomorrow afternoon.